Right, what's up, guys? My name is Cyan. That's not my real name, but you can call me Cyan. That's okay. I am a content creator working primarily with StarCraft II, working a lot with esports. Um, I am most known for my interviews, I guess. I've interviewed a number of people through the StarCraft scene. They're all on my YouTube if you wanted to check those out. I also do a lot of writing. I've written for places like Esports Heaven, and last year was a really big year for writing for me because I got to write for Blizzard itself, just on a freelance basis. So hello, I hope that I can provide some good content for the stream today for you guys, something interesting to listen to. And Destiny, thank you so much for giving me some of your time. Hopefully don't take too much of that time, but if at any point you're starting to approach the point where you got to go or anything like that, just let me know and I'll try and trim and tailor what I have. I have a lot of questions, so we'll probably hit that point.
I'll be fine. Don't worry.
Okay. All right. Well, let's just dive on in then, I suppose. So this interview, we're not going to talk about a whole bunch of political stuff or anything like that. I want to focus primarily on the live streaming aspect of your life and a little bit of the esports of it all, because when you talk about live streaming, when you talk about StarCraft II and esports, you have played such an integral role in the growth of all of that from day zero. So back in the day, before TwitchTV was a thing, you streamed on Justin TV, which was the then parent company of what would be Twitch or what have you. But there were other streaming options too that were available to you, like Ustream or Blip TV. What initially pulled you to Justin TV rather than one of these other platforms?
Back in those days, it was all a really big fight over the actual things that they would allow you to do. Wait, hold on. My camera's still yeah, okay, sorry. So these days we don't really think about bandwidth or bandwidth I guess bandwidth was probably the main determining thing. So back a long time ago, if you streamed on Ustream or live stream, wait, am I really on the front page of Twitch right now? If that's true, I did not know that. I was not ready for that. I think that guy's lying. Sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. Let me start that over again. Back in the day, a lot of websites were holy shit, I lost my whole train of thought. Okay. Take a deep breath, okay?
No worries.
I'm sorry, I get really nervous during interviews with the really big guys, okay? So you got me all tripped up, okay?
Aww.
Okay, all right, I'm just kidding. Okay, let me back up. Okay. A long time ago, back in the day, it used to be that you were actually severely restricted on bandwidth, on two different types of bandwidth. One was the actual bandwidth you could send to the site. So that means that I think back then in those days we were capped at 300 kilobits per second, maybe 500 kilobits per second. It was really, 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 it's really low compared to what we're at now, which now I think on Twitch, I push 7,500 kilobits per second, or 7.5 megabits per second. So back then, all of the sites were competing with each other. Livestream, Ustream, Justin TV on who would allow more bandwidth, but you were also capped on the amount of bandwidth that you could actually broadcast. So if you had more viewers, it would take up more bandwidth from the site, and you weren't able to broadcast to a lot of people too. So there's so basically back then you would kind of hop around to the providers based on the software they offered and then the bandwidth restrictions as well. Livestream, I think for a little bit offered, they had their own program that you could use that was an all-in-one program instead of having to use Flash Media Live Encoder, Camtasia, virtual audio cables and all this shit. They had a program, so people used them for a while. And then I think Ustream, was the first to offer unlimited broadcasting bandwidth. So as many people could watch your stream and you wouldn't be docked for it or penalized or anything. There's a whole bunch of shit that people would compete on, and you just kind of hop around based on who was currently offering the most preferential bandwidth or something at the time, yeah. But yeah, so eventually I ended up I probably started on Justin TV because they offered it was probably just the most competitive bandwidth being offered. It was probably the highest you could broadcast at. It was probably 500 kilobits per second or something, and then they probably didn't have viewer caps, so you could have as many people watching you as you could get, I guess, which in those days was 50 to 100 maybe.
It's interesting to hear about I know that the technology side of things is so important for your kind of early start, because I've heard you talk about the Japanese encoding program and stuff like that multiple times, but the streaming sites themselves having to deal with that kind of like technological aspect of it all.
Mhm.
As like a current year person, something that I've never really even considered was possible back then. But
Yeah,
different
something
place.
that's really weird is that like all across the internet, like bandwidth is pretty much free now. Like bandwidth and storage are two things that like we don't think about ever. Like we just don't think about bandwidth and storage anymore. But back a long time ago, like you were paying money. I remember when Yahoo would like charge you to upgrade your email inbox. I want to say to 100 megabytes. Like you would have to actually pay a monthly fee to Yahoo to get that upgrade. And then when Gmail came out with a free 1 gigabyte of storage, it was like unbelievable. It was like impossible. Like 1 gigabyte of free space. That's insane. It was like, yeah, people like freak the fuck out, you know?
Interesting.
Mhm.
So, like, just again talking about how different the landscape was back then too. Nowadays, if somebody is trying to make a fresh start as an internet content creator, you know, like you post yourself to Reddit, you join the appropriate Discords, you have Twitter to post on, and everything like that. What was the method that you could use back in, 2010 to grow as a streamer on these platforms? How did you accomplish that?
I mean, back then there was like a lot of. So I'll give advice, or I'll say what I did, but it doesn't really work anymore because the landscape has like changed so much. But basically, the way that it worked back then was like promoting yourself on subreddits initially was very important. There were smaller forums. I say small, but there were forums like D2, JSP, or whatever that you could promote yourself on. Finding people to like who would like cross post your stuff to these types of websites when you were just starting out was like a huge boon. I think it made you immensely popular. Or helped you to get like more fans from other places besides Team Liquid, which was probably like the main place. Or I guess that's probably the most important place. The most important place for streams back in the day was Team Liquid. If you weren't like cross posting on other sites or whatever, because like getting featured on Team Liquid or being listed on their sidebar was like where most viewers came from. It was actually more important to be listed on Team Liquid than like Twitch anywhere. That Twitch didn't actually matter. Nobody went to Twitch to find streams. They all like looked on the Team Liquid sidebar.
Yeah, I wasn't a part of the StarCraft scene or like the live stream scene at all back then, but I have seen you talk about getting kind of blocked from the TL sidebar and how big a deal that was for you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, it's such a different kind of world. So, according to Liquipedia, maybe this is a little bit of StarCraft hype getting into its own head, but according to Liquipedia, you're one of the first people to have ever made their living from live streaming a video game. Can you tell me what was the point where you realized that you didn't have to work like a normal 9 to 5 in order to pay your bills?
Yeah, a lot of people do this in a very romantic way where they take like a giant leap of faith and blah blah blah. But for me, it basically came down to the point to where I was working an ungodly amount of hours doing some carpet cleaning shit. It was like I would like basically I was working 13-day stretches. I'd have every other Sunday off, and I would try to stream in my free time when I would come home, or sometimes between carpet cleaning jobs if they were scheduled far enough apart. And I think I want to say I'm pretty sure I'm 99% sure that I was in the first batch of people to get paid by Justin TV. Um, I'm pretty sure I was in that first batch of people, and that paycheck. Oh man, what was it Emmett? I'm trying to figure out if I have this email. I think I do. Ah, shoot, I'm not gonna be able to find it. But basically, I got like my very first paycheck ever, and it was like $207 or something. And after I got paid that 200 some dollars, I was like, oh well, wait, hold on. Like, if I do the math on the amount of hours I put into streaming here, and then I compare that to the amount of hours I put into carpet cleaning, well, if my income scales even like 50 to 60% with my time streamed, then I would make more money per hour streaming than I would doing my carpet cleaning shit, because I was doing that shit for like over like 100 hours a week. It was fucking ridiculous how much stupid fucking time I was wasting this place. It's like, oh fuck it, like I'll just fucking do this. And then yeah, basically I went and I told my boss my girlfriend like was delivering her baby early, and then he let me go, and I fucking just started streaming full time. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
As time kind of like went on and esports, StarCraft esports started to gain its stride, you joined a couple of esports teams. You were on Root Gaming, which then kind of got absorbed into Complexity. Later on, you joined Quantic. And eventually, you returned to Root again. But tell me, what were your goals with joining these teams in the first place back then, and what kind of situation did they offer you?
um I guess in my like early days, I was always like I'm like, I come across as like a huge hard ass on the internet, but I'm actually like a pretty friendly person. And I guess like generally when I would join teams, it was usually because there were people on the teams, and it was usually because I kind of like, I guess wanted everybody on the team to do well and kind of wanted the team to do well. So like, and every StarCraft team I was ever on, I don't think I ever took a salary from any team. Um, I think Quantic covered travel for me in a couple events. I'm pretty sure Quantic covered travel for me in a couple events. But like, I'm trying to remember. I just don't want to misquote anything. I'm pretty sure like for Root, I don't think Root ever even covered travel, and definitely not a salary. I never took a salary anywhere. So generally, when I was joining, it was usually because there were like people on the team that I was friends with, and I kind of wanted them to do well, and I wanted to play games with them and everything. And I had like the largest stream at the time, so I was like, yeah, like it'll be cool. We'll have fun or whatever. Generally, yeah.
That is pretty interesting. I can't. I guess like in today's world, it would never be recommended that you kind of take a position with somebody that's not offering you salary or whatever. But at the time, you were such a huge live streamer. Did it kind of feel like you had the luxury to pick and choose an organization that was full of people that you liked, and you didn't really need to get anything back like that?
Yeah, I mean, I've always positioned myself so that I have a lot of flexibility. That's like been an intentional part of my thing. That's why I pursued streaming more so than professional gaming, because I always saw streaming as being more flexible than being like a pro gamer.
Interesting. So at some point, I believe it was 2013, but I don't really know, you also decided to create your own website where you could host blogs, you could direct people to your social media and your merch, and most importantly, perhaps, you could embed your stream featuring your own chat and offer your own subscription model to your fans through your own site.
Hmm.
How did that kind of concept come to be in the first place? And what did it take for you to make Destiny.gg the accepted hub of your community?
Basically, a long time ago, Twitch's chat was really, really, really bad. Like I don't even know what they were using for a backend. The Flash front end was like really unreliable. The servers for the chat would crash like pretty often. The just like navigating the chat was a huge pain in the ass. It was like really, really, really bad. And I thought it would be cool to kind of like have like my own kind of side chat that would be a little bit more reliable, and then it would also give me a little bit more ownership over my audience and a little bit less reliability on a specific platform. So initially we tried using IRC. I don't remember the first IRC server we were on, but then we went to Ryzen and we used that one for quite a while. And then I got to the point to where a guy in my chat named Stanpet, SZTANPET. I don't know if I'm thinking I'm pronouncing it right, Stanpet. He volunteered to kind of like build a chat out of my website, which was super cool. And then yeah, he made that chat, and people started to use it, and then we've kind of like built on it ever since. The guy that manages the actual website is called Cyan in my chat, who's also a really cool dude. And then yeah, between those two guys, I guess, man, it must have been back in 2013, I think, when we first launched my website. And then I think the chat was launched. I think it was launched with the website or closely around then, and then people just started using it. And yeah, generally it was easier to sell it in the beginning because it was really stable. So whenever Twitch's chat was down, my chat would still be up and whatnot.
That is such a like the existence of Destiny.gg and how accepted it is in your community is so interesting because it's such a rare thing to see in live streaming, and it almost feels like it shouldn't be rare because, like you said, you have your own Twitch chat, or well, your own chat. Sorry, DGG chat. Um, you have your own emotes. You have your own features. Like the combo feature when people are spamming the emote is it just kind of like makes sense to me. It's such a cool feature. You can IP ban, I think, can't you? Um,
Yeah, there's a lot.
Lots of
It used to be
features.
way more feature rich compared to Twitch, but Twitch has caught up quite a bit. So like, I think I've had like sub gifting for like 5 years or something. And then like the ability to like click people's names and highlight names, for chatting and whatnot. I don't know I think you can do that in Twitch's chat now, right? Or maybe you can't yet. But like, yeah, there's been a lot of features on my site that Twitch has kind of over the years, finally picked up on, which is good for Twitch. Their chat is a lot more usable now than it used to be. So. Oh yeah, like tab complete on emotes, really simple stuff. I think you can tab complete emotes in Twitch chat now, right? Can you?
Yeah,
Oh wait,
yeah.
you can't. You can tab complete. Oh, names. You can tab complete names, but like, yeah.
Why do you think more streamers haven't really adopted that concept and that idea and created their own website where they can tap into their source of revenue a little bit more and then have access to these additional features that maybe Twitch is adopting but still hasn't fully adopted?
I've always been like pretty business minded, I think. And I think I come from a background where like I'm really grateful to be doing what I do, and I think it's possible for a lot of people to kind of take everything for granted. So they don't really think much in terms of like planning for the future or in terms of how to optimize like their business related stuff. So they just kind of like float on through and do whatever. Like there's still a lot of people that, and to be fair, like if you go straight from high school to college to like to live streaming, like what does it mean to earn 5,000 or 10,000 in a month from streaming? Like the numbers don't really mean much to you. And if you could boost your income from 5K a month to 7K a month, like does a person who's never worked a real job before actually care that much? Like I say that, I don't mean that to be insulting either, but like the numbers just don't mean anything to you at that point, right? You know, like I always say, like if a kid is signing up for like student loans and it's like 80K, you know, for 4 years of college, it's like, okay, well, what is 80K to a kid? You know, who the fuck knows? Whereas if you actually worked a job before, like, well, 80K could be, that's like 2 or 3 years of income. That means a lot more to you when you got the perspective, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and then
So
also, these days it's harder to push for a site like mine because there are so many other areas of the internet that can host communities. Like now with Discord chats, now with Twitch chat being better, you know, there's a little bit less incentive to have kind of your own separate sub community.
interesting. Do you think that it could only have ever been successful in like that vacuum? Like if you tried to do it today and you really put your focus and effort into it, do you think that DGG would still be a successful venture, or do you think it would be much less profitable?
I have no idea. It's really hard to say. Everything, so much is like based around like time and timing. like, you know, like I don't know if I would even be a successful streamer today if I just started now. I don't know. It's impossible to say. I have no perspective. It would be interesting to like get like a fucking body change or some shit and then just try it on like a new account to see if it's possible. Like I wonder, you know, would this work or would this work or would this work? But I just don't know. Yeah, I have no idea. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's really interesting to think about.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I kind of always identified with you back in the day, and one of the things that seems to have bolstered your popularity was kind of that like edge lord internet humor that you seem to have a fair bit more of compared to some of the other StarCraft streamers, like a Grubby or an In Control or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it also kind of simultaneously got you into trouble at some different points with people emailing sponsors or teams and trying to get you removed, and sometimes successfully getting you removed. Looking back on these incidents of people emailing sponsors because of something that was said or whatever, do you have any like regrets in that regard? What are your thoughts looking back?
One of the really disappointing things that I've kind of learned in my life, however intelligent I think myself to be, is that it seems like we learn best through experience. Or at least for me, that's how it's been. I learned very well through experience, and it's very hard for me to understand some things otherwise. So when I get asked the question, like, do you have regrets over certain things? It's very hard for me to ever say yes to that. Like, I'm generally happy with the intellectual and ethical progress that I've made over the past like 10 years, and it's hard to say how much I would have made or where I'd be now had I not experienced the things that I did. So I mean, like in some ways, you know, like would it have been good to make like the perfect moves to optimize my income, or you know, to get equity early on in Twitch or some crazy stuff like that? Like, I mean, yeah, I mean, I guess it probably would be, but I'm not sure if I would trade any of those experiences, you know, for anything else. And I feel like, you know, in some regards, like I can sell myself based on my experiences. Like I have a very unique collection of things that's happened to me throughout my life. You know, not many people have been like as savagely witch hunted by the left and right as I have. You know, so like there's like a collection of like experiences that I'm very very grateful for, and I get to see a lot of things and a lot of perspectives, and it helps me see, or it helps me understand a lot of perspectives as well. So. Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, like on a very surface level, like, yeah, I wish I wouldn't have done this or whatever. You know, but ultimately, I don't know. I mean, I'm still alive and I'm still here, and I feel like I've learned a lot. So I don't think view anything as like having regrets, I guess.
We are the sum of our experiences kind of thing.
Pretty much, yeah, yeah.
Mm, that's something I think I believe in, at least.
Mm-hmm.
So while your
Assuming you don't
career,
make up a
sorry,
like, bro, just to be clear, assuming you don't like fuck up real bad, right?
yeah,
Like if I said something so bad, or if I got fucked so bad that I got like fired from streaming completely, and I was like back at like working at McDonald's or some shit, and then you would ask me, do you have any regrets? I mean, my answer would probably be different. So yeah, okay, sorry.
yeah, of
Like,
course,
you have to like balance out like how much poison can you take without like losing a limb and then like gaining immunity or something. I don't know. There's some analogy there. But, yeah.
definitely. So while your career was developing, StarCraft II was also developing and facing some massive amounts of changes. StarCraft II is so frequently forgotten by esports fans in general, but it's undeniably like the starting point of where esports trending kind of happened in the 2010s decade, I guess. So it trended upwards, it hit a point, and then it started to decline, and then it became such a huge debate within the community. And you always seem to be somebody who's at the forefront of that debate with your opinions. Tell me, what were your concerns for StarCraft II in the 2012-2013 era, losing its games like #1 spot to League?
Man, I don't know. I guess I could just go look at the Reddit post. I guess like my biggest problem with StarCraft was mainly a problem with Blizzard. I guess my biggest problem was that I felt like they weren't very responsive to the changing landscape. Fuck, I'm not gonna read this whole thing, but yeah, pretty much. I think pretty much that was like my problem. Is like at the time when they came out, was Riot seemed to be like ultra responsive to like growing changes. They were adding new things to the game. They were changing things in response to community feedback and all of this stuff. It felt like a very live, very adaptive, very reactionary, very dynamic process when you were playing some of these newer games that were coming up. Well, newer games. I say like when you were playing like Dota 2 and League, like every time a new champion or hero would come out, it was just like a lot of excitement. And then for StarCraft, we were kind of like, stuck, like, I don't know, nerfing or buffing bunker build time for like 2 years. And it seemed like to get anything done, like we couldn't get like LAN at tournaments. I remember it was like one of the biggest fucking fights in the world, like dumb shit like this. And I still don't think we do. I don't know if that matters or not anymore, but things like not having like the ability to skin any of your units. The social features in StarCraft were horribly lacking. There were just like a lot of kind of like smaller dumb problems, it seemed, that Blizzard was just like very, very, very slow to get around to adjusting, and everyone else seemed to kind of like move forward much quicker than they did. StarCraft didn't even launch initially with custom games. I don't even know if that came out with Heart of the Swarm. That might have been even later. Do you remember when like the custom game thing came out?
I feel like custom games were around for Heart of the Swarm. I don't specifically remember though.
The arcade or whatever, were they?
Well, the arcade was definitely around for Wings, but they revamped it, I think, for Heart of the Swarm because everybody had such a hard time like navigating it. I
Oh
think
yeah, maybe it was just the revamp because like you couldn't navigate it. No, you're right. It must have been out for Wings of Liberty. You're right. You're right. Yeah, I guess I just don't remember like anybody ever using it at all. So, okay, gotcha.
but now in like kind of current day, there are skins for your units. There are skins for your buildings. There are
Mm-hmm.
announcer packs. The arcade has been revamped again, and there's like premium arcade games that you can purchase that fund like the development of more from the people that made them. It seems like
Yeah, we
a
met at
lot of
the
the things. Sorry, go ahead.
you were at the summit, right?
Hmm?
Yeah, we met there, right? That's why we're doing
Yeah.
this because you talked to me, right? Yeah, okay, yeah. Just making sure I'm not mixing you up. Yeah, I remember. Watching like there was like a very bittersweet feeling, and we can't go into specifics obviously, but like there was a very bittersweet feeling watching their presentation because man, if they would have done all that shit like fucking 6 or 7 years ago, like oh my god, how fucking sick would that have been, right? Like the presentation and the health of StarCraft and everything right now was actually like surprisingly good, and like all the ideas that they finally implemented and move forward with like all seem to be like really successful. Like when they were showing like the revenue charts and everything for the skins and the voice acts, that was really fucking awesome. That was super sick, and it makes me so incredibly sad that it took like half a decade to get there. It's like fuck, if these would have been like closer to launch, like holy shit, like who knows, like maybe it wouldn't be fucking MOBAs and battle royales today. Like maybe RTS would still have a spot. Fuck, I hate that we can't use fucking numbers, but like the percentage of income that StarCraft makes off of fucking co-op, which didn't even exist, is like unbelievable, right? Like fuck, if these game modes would have existed in 2013, 2014, who the fuck knows? Yeah.
You weren't there the year before, but Total
Mm-hmm.
Biscuit, I think Total Biscuit leaked some stats. I don't even know if I'm like allowed to like raise that as a thing that like, oh, this is something that somebody else made public. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you're familiar with that at all. But yeah, the community summits are so crazy cool for Blizzard to do at all, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I'm particularly honored to be a part of them, to be invited out. If that was the thing that was happening back in the 2012 era when you were making these posts, when Save Hots was the thing, do you think that
Mm-hmm.
if those features weren't coming, do you think that just that communication and that event would have kind of changed the tone of the conversation back then?
Maybe, but I'd actually, this is gonna sound like really cold. I don't actually care that much about like communication if it's kind of empty. Like if I go to like a summit and and game developers do this, like I don't really care to hear like platitudes. They're like, oh well, we would do it, but we can't because of this, blah 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 blah, or like excuses or whatever. So like even if they would have had communications back then, like, well, we can't do it because of this, then it would just be like, okay, well, thanks for telling us. I mean, like at least now we know why shit's gonna die. But I don't think the problem so much back then was lack of communication. It was lack of like actual action and forward momentum, you know?
Yeah, I think that's. Mm, I think that's fair, but I do want to acknowledge that I think a lot of the conversation that was happening from the professional scene was the lack of communication as well. It's interesting to hear your perspective as somebody who was at the forefront of that debate, though. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess I love StarCraft. I mean, I guess obviously I love StarCraft II, and it's my game that I want to see do well and everything. So I spent a lot of time thinking like, oh man, I wonder if that could have been a thing, or what would happen if this. But who really knows? And I guess it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. But you did attend the summit this year, really quickly because obviously you're under NDA. What were your impressions on what you heard? Like StarCraft in a good space? Is it doing
Yeah, I mean,
okay in your
basically,
mind?
just reiterating what I said. Yeah, I mean, it seems to be doing like surprisingly healthy, like a lot more than I thought it would be. Yeah. And the addition of all the new stuff, the skins, the co-op, and everything else seem to be like incredibly positive changes from a revenue point of view for the game.
Nice. Back in 2014, we're kind of jumping around a little bit. The pacing's a little off. Sorry, guys. But back in
No, that's fine.
2014, you ran your own tournament, the Destiny Invitational or the Destiny 1. It was something that you described as a success, and it was a project that you said you intended to carry forward into second iteration, but it kind of just never really happened. You were in the planning phase of the second Destiny 2, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
What changed to prevent Destiny 2 from ever happening?
I think I just kind of like, I think I just ended up kind of like losing interest in StarCraft, and I just didn't carry it forward as much. I really think that's about as much as what would happen. There wasn't like any super dramatic like I fucking decided I hated StarCraft or I had some big drama. It was more just like I just didn't really play as much anymore, and the time and effort to go through. And then like my streaming numbers and everything, and my income related streaming like got so large that any type of tournament organized would probably be at a pretty big financial loss to me, as opposed to just like streaming. So I just kind of like lost interest in it, I guess.
That's kind of a shame, but understandable for sure. Would you ever
Mm-hmm.
consider bringing Destiny 2 back in this day and age? It seems like you're kind of flirting back and forth, kind of perpetually with StarCraft 2, and you gain some interest and you maybe lose it again, back and forth. Would you ever bring it back?
Um, yeah, I mean, I guess I could. I guess I could do it. Um, Yeah, I mean, fuck. It's just a matter of like interest. I guess like if I have the interest to do it, I could. I don't know. Ask me in a month, I guess, and we'll see. I was supposed to play StarCraft 2 this month because of the war chest stuff, and between moving and everything else, I totally fucking didn't. But maybe, yeah, maybe we'll do it. We'll see. I'll try. Thanks for reigniting the idea in my head. You know what? I'll add it to my list of January things. Okay, to consider. I'll put it on my right now. It's there.
Hell yeah. You're
Okay.
fucking welcome to
If it
StarCraft
happens
2
within the next
community.
2 months, okay, you get a lot of credit for it. All right, there you go.
Fantastic. I almost said amazing too. God. This is
Amazing.
So also in 2014 though, Bungie and Activision released their own Destiny 1, the video game. Uh, and sadly, it wasn't really based on your biography or anything like that. It was a completely
Yeah.
separate entity. Despite the existence of this very well-known video game, you claim the Destiny Instagram account, the Destiny Reddit, you claim Destiny YouTube. Has the existence of the video game been something that makes you concerned for your intellectual property or your SEO in any way? Like, how has that game affected your career?
Pretty shittily. It fucks my SEO really fucking hard. SEO, search engine optimization. So basically the way that people find me. But I mean, like, it's too late for me to do anything. It's just kind of a shitty thing that I have to accept. Like, yeah. Before that, I remember that I could like brag that like, I want to say, if you would have like Googled like Destiny back in like want to say like 2013, like I would pop up. I would be like, even on incognito mode, I'd be like first page results and everything. But I don't know if that's true anymore because the fucking game is so big and now it's all, oh, my website, oh, my Twitch is here at least, I guess. But yeah, that kind of sucked. But I mean, again, what am I going to do?
Well, I was just gonna ask, like, is there anything that you can do realistically to soften that blow, or is it really just kind of all up into the hands of fate and the YouTube algorithms or Google algorithms?
I mean, it's all up to the Google algorithms. Basically, my goal is, yeah, I mean, I gotta get bigger than Destiny, I guess. If I just keep growing or whatever, I'll be okay. Eventually, the game will fucking die. But yeah.
Yeah, hey man, I mean, Warframe still #1 spot. Anthem looks like it's not going to be garbage, maybe better than Destiny the game, so
Yeah,
fingers
holy
crossed.
shit. Is Anthem going to be good? Because I got an email with like an alpha key and I totally like marked them as spam and deleted them and then
Oh, rip.
unsubscribed from whatever list. Is it actually good?
I mean, like, you don't know until it's out. I firmly hold the opinion that you never know until it's actually out, but like, it doesn't look like hot garbage, so that's promising. Maybe some
Okay,
people
fuck.
disagree. I don't know. It looked decently fun to me, but
Yeah, I actually saw a couple people playing and that was my thought. I was like, hey, this actually looks okay.
I think if you like that kind of game, like the kind of check out AFK, listen to a podcast, kill stuff, like Warframe, or yeah, like Warframe, I'm sure it'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, so talking about social media, you've also been hit with a permaban from Twitter. How much of an effect do you think that that has had on your career and your career trajectory overall? Uh, Accepting, like I don't need to. I don't want to ask like, is it ever going to come back? Because I know that you don't know. But what kind of a difference would it make if it did come back?
It's pretty fucking huge. Twitter is where politics happens, and it was like one of my most like communicative platforms. And it was also where like a lot of stuff related to me happens. And it's like when you're doing things that you can build other businesses alongside your business, or not other businesses, but you can build kind of like other avenues for exposure alongside yourself. And social media outlets are like a really good way to do this. The word that I learned from Devin are verticals, right? So if you're a big streamer, you also want to have a YouTube channel. You also want to be outreaching on some sort of social media. And for me, like the social media that I've been spending money and time building now is my Instagram. And the best way, because of how heavily algorithmically these social medias are driven, like the best way to usually drive traffic to these is to engage with their actual products. So for Instagram, like posting stories, communicating on other people's Instagram feeds, liking comments, replying to comments, like these are really important ways to get more traction. And I hate doing it. I just hate Instagram. It's not fun. It's not a good platform for me. It's not bad. I'm just not like a very like take pictures kind of person. And anytime I'm at any place that's cool enough for me to take pictures, I'm probably streaming. So my phone can't take pictures anyway. It's like really fucking annoying to do it. But Twitter was a platform that I very organically engaged with. And I could just like fucking like, there was like my fans, like the way they would know if I'm awake or not, like if I was going to stream soon, is as soon as I started tweeting. That meant that I had just woken up and I had gone through my Twitter in bed and I saw some dumb shit that needed somebody to correct it on the internet. And that's when I would start like tweeting and shit in the morning. And it was an incredibly good way. Like a lot of my growth, a lot of the reasons why people know me are literally things tied directly to Twitter. Like the only reason the JonTron conversation happened was because I had a Twitter and I poked him. The only reason I talked to like Dick Masterson, No Bullshit, Lawrence Southern, Martin Shkreli, a lot of these people literally came through like kind of these Twitter conversations. And yeah, losing access to that has been insanely fucking damaging for me. Yeah.
That is very rough. I didn't really understand the scope of it. Do you
Mm-hmm.
think that if, let's say that you weren't involved in the politics at all, and you were just hardcore video game, like IRL streamer, everything but the politics, do you think that it would have had the same effect, or do you think it wouldn't have been as quite so catastrophic?
No, I probably wouldn't have cared as much. I mean, Twitter is pretty important for like video game reporting related stuff, but like Twitter is just for politics. Twitter is where it's at. It's just such a great platform for politics. It's so good. But if I didn't care as much about politics, I probably wouldn't care as much about Twitter.
Gotcha. You've also been hit with a couple of temp bans over the years from Twitch, this platform here. You've been pretty public in how these bans have like kind of threatened your livelihood after all the rule changes and the revamps of TOS and everything like that, and your own kind of shift over the years. Do you feel good about Twitch going forward from here? Do you feel secure on this platform?
Um, I've got a very proactive relationship with Twitch now compared to any time in the past where my bans have happened. I feel comfortable with my position on Twitch right now. I don't think I'm gonna like pop off like a random ban or something. I've got feelings. I've got a lot of feelings about my bans in the past, but I mean, it is what it is, and the platform changes and grows and shit happens. But I feel really comfortable now just because I've taken a big, like after my last ban, I literally flew to California to have like dinner, with a couple account managers and shit to make sure that like they knew that everything was on the up and up, and I'm not like trying to get fucking banned or some shit. Yeah.
How important is it to you to be able to kind of like have that access to your account managers, like to fly and have dinner and talk about everything? Like that's a pretty massive step to make a trip like that. And now you're living in California. Like how big of a difference does that kind of one-on-one FaceTime make?
Unfortunately, it's really big. I'm kind of like an internet person. Well, I shouldn't say that. I like seeing people in person, but like seeing people in person is so much different for most people than seeing them on the internet. And for a lot of people, that face-to-face time is very, very, very important. You can't undercount that. For me personally, I guess I don't really care that much, depending on the type of person. I mean, obviously, like having like a girlfriend that you only ever see online is kind of shit. But for business stuff, I usually don't mind online only. But when people get like FaceTime with you, it just changes their it's more of an experience, I guess. Like a lot of the online connections I have now with like Greek God X and XQC and all these people, I think a large part that drove these more recent internet interactions was the fact that I met them. Oh, Andy, is because I met them in person, like at a lot of these events now. So
Yeah, that's really interesting. I live in the I always say, if you know the line in Star Wars where Luke's talking about where he is, and he's like, "Oh, if there's a center of the galaxy, then I'm in the corner farthest from." That's pretty much where I live in North America. I'm very, very far away from everything, and travel is very
what
like
state do you
prohibitive.
live in?
I'm in Canada. Uh,
Oh,
I'm
okay.
in Newfoundland, Canada. Do you know where that is?
Is that like in the middle-ish?
Nope. I am so far east. We have our own time zone. I'm EST plus an hour and a half, actually.
Ew.
Yes,
This doesn't even sound like the real name of a place. Newfoundland? Is that like the name of the province?
it's the name of the province. Newfoundland,
Newfoundland,
Labrador.
Newfoundland, and Labrador, like the dog.
Yeah, and also like the dog, like both of those dogs. That's what they're named for.
What? How far? This is like a fucking what? Like an 8-hour flight to LA? How long is the flight?
Well, there's no direct flight. Traveling is also very prohibitive because we're just out in the middle of nowhere, right? So I'd have to get a couple of connecting flights. Um,
What's like a big city? What's like your capital, your biggest city or whatever?
St. John's. The total population of the province is like 500,000, or the island at least.
Oh, holy shit! Okay, I didn't know.
Yeah, yeah. And then at least half of that population lives on that one, it's called the Avalon Peninsula, where the main city is.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, actually, there was a story the other day about one of the local mayors wants to launch a public inquiry on the prohibitive costs of airfare in this province. So, yeah, anyways,
Yeah, Jesus, it's like $800+ for me to fly to you. That's insane. Oh wait,
yeah,
here's tickets for like 550, but okay, jeez.
yeah. And also I can't like Montreal is kind of close, so like WCS Montreal happens, and it seems like something that can be more obtainable. But I mean, if I go, I can't drive because we're also surrounded by water. Um, and I found that the getting to these events and like making that IRL connection is like really, really difficult for me just because of the prohibitive nature of where I live. It's unfortunate that it's so important, but it's kind of just the state of the world, I guess, right? I mean, kind of tying it back into Twitch and meeting with the people who you're directly dealing with in the Twitch company. Um, I guess it kind of just is what it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I had an original point before we got off to the Newfoundland stuff.
Sorry. Oh, but you were saying you lived in the middle of nowhere and you don't really have contact with anybody?
Yeah, I can't remember. Anyways, where am I in my notes? Oh, okay. Let's talk a little bit about your current manager. I believe he's your manager, Mr. Mooten. Um,
Kind of manages some things, yeah.
Manages some things. Okay. What's the like position that he holds per se?
Right now, I think he uploads podcasts for me, and then he reaches out to people via Twitter for stuff related to the podcast.
Okay, cool, cool.
but mainly like podcast related stuff at the moment. Oh, and then he also manages some community stuff on Discord.
So I take my research for these pieces like pretty seriously,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and I did my deep dive into your content that's been posted. And one of the videos that I found was like Destiny subscriber debates one or something like that, and it was a group of your
I remember
subscribers in
those.
like
Yeah,
a
that was.
TeamSpeak channel debating incest, and Mr. Mooten was there. Tell me a little bit about how this person who I assume kind of just came in as a fan rose to the point where he's like a regular on your stream and is helping you on some level with your business.
I mean, I think that there have just been like a lot of people that I've played games with over the years. Like there have been a lot of quote unquote regulars on stream. So like Mr. Mooten is one, Cheeks used to be one, RNA was one, Kyle used to be on stream more like fuck. And then back in the day, there's like a lot more. Thunder Toss, I remember. Do you know him, right? Or do you?
I don't. I'm not.
Okay, never
I'm
mind.
kind of fresher to the start.
Kind of, yeah, okay, yeah, but yeah, basically there's a lot of people, and then Mr. Moon has just been one that's just kind of like stuck around for I guess a really long time. He's probably been here for like fucking 6 or 7 years or some shit, a long fucking time, and then yeah, and then he's moved more into streaming and then kind of like doing I guess stuff in the background since he's already so integrated into my community. It's kind of a natural extension for him to work on things related to it.
Interesting. I think that like the meta for Twitch right now for growth is it seems to be very driven in being able to like tap into somebody who can give you a big host on the regular, or knowing the people, meeting the connections, and everything like that. What are your thoughts on the idea of like the Twitch leeches that so many people like to complain about? And how do you decide who's somebody who you want to
You
throw a
can't.
host or whatnot?
Yeah, you can't leech your way into a career. That's like not true. It's never happened in the history of all of Twitch. And every big streamer and every successful streamer and any other streamer will tell you that exact same thing. Nobody ever gets hosted and just holds on to enough viewers to make a living while being really fucking boring. Like there are people that get big off of other people, kind of due to networking and whatnot. But like those people have to be genuinely entertaining on their own, otherwise they wouldn't be able to hold an audience.
Absolutely. Do you
Mm-hmm.
think that those people would make it regardless at the end of the day of whether or not they got a host or whether or not they knew person XYZ?
Maybe, maybe not. But I mean, networking is as important a life skill as anything else. So people, I used to be like this, so I understand the thought. People like to believe that the world is a meritocracy. If you try hard and you do well, you'll make it. But that's absolutely fucking not true. There are lots of people that are where they are because they also like networking is just as important a skill as financial management, as time management, as your whatever skill at a video game you play. Like networking is just as important a skill and building block to anything else because the amount of opportunities that are available to you are going to open up so much more if you're able to network with other people.
Definitely. Absolutely. Where am I? So you have what I would describe as the largest cult of personality on Twitch, as far as I know. Um, Even
I don't
just
know if
like
that's true compared to some of the larger streamers. Like people have some people's fan bases are pretty fucking crazy, but I'm sure it's one of the larger ones, given my size too. Sure.
that's true. Um, Even just sitting here though, just waiting for you, playing some StarCraft games, people were just trickling in, and I guess somebody posted my stream to your subreddit, and I ended up with 350 some odd viewers just coming in from your subreddit,
Mm-hmm.
uh, which is just kind of crazy to me. You have fans that do fan art, you have fans that post memes, you have fans that write music. There's a Ken Ashcorp song about you, I think, right? Uh,
Yeah.
it seems to me like at its best, the Destiny fan base is everything an internet personality could ever hope for. Why do you think that your fans are so kind of rabid for your size, I guess?
I mean, I'm sure that a lot of fan bases are pretty rabid. I think I've just done a good job at kind of like organizing things so people have like areas to communicate well. Like for example, like one thing that it kind of always perplexed me is people never took subreddits very seriously, and I think I did a really good job. I have like one of the largest streamer subreddits, even though I'm not one of the large. Well, I guess now I'm kind of a pretty large streamer, but like if you look at somebody like Soda Poppin, who is inarguably like a larger streamer than me, like his subreddit has 37.3K subs, and I'm not even sure how active his subreddit is. Oh, it looks a lot more active than when I checked a while ago. Nah, never mind. This subreddit's dead as fuck. People post, but no one comments. I think that having like a really active subreddit has given my fan base like a good area to kind of rally around. Like if you don't have like a really active subreddit or some place where people can post stuff publicly, how are you ever going to? How are people ever going to come together and like make memes or do anything like that? Right? They've got aside from shit posting in chat, you know.
Very true.
Mm-hmm.
I read the Reddit StarCraft thread about your JP Real Talk interview from like 2012, and you commented there and were like, "Oh, I don't know if people were interested in an AMA, then I would do one, I guess." And somebody else replied
Mm-hmm.
like, "Oh, all 1,700 of us on our Destiny would love you to do that." And it's kind of
Mm-hmm.
startling to see that number and where things came from. And at this point, you have like I think it's 47,000 members of the subreddit, if I'm correct. Maybe 40K plus, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
48K or 48.0K right now, yeah. Or
yeah,
47,970, yeah.
yeah. It's some pretty crazy growth over the years, and it definitely
Mm-hmm.
bigger subreddits, I suppose. Uh,
If I was
the
really smart, I would have been taking my YouTube seriously for the past 7 years too, instead of just the last one or two. But
It's
it is what it
interesting.
is.
It is interesting to see some of the older YouTube videos. Okay, question: were you uploading to the Remember Tomorrow account, or was that like a fan account?
It was another guy, but I knew who it was, and we split the revenue 50-50 on it.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's interesting looking back and seeing some of these YouTube videos that were uploaded in like 2013, 2014 or whatever, and seeing that they're, like 900 views, 600 views, 2,000 views compared to what you are now. Uh, if you had been on the ground floor of that, I mean, do you think that you would have held the spot
I'd
of
have a
the number
million.
one? Yeah,
I'd have a million plus YouTube subs right now, guaranteed. Yeah, I fucked up. That's probably one. Maybe there you go. Maybe that might be a regret. Is not taking YouTube seriously earlier. That's easily
dude,
one of my like worst decisions. Yeah.
rip, we got there. We found that one regret.
Yeah. There you go.
Going back to the idea of your fan base being very devoted to you, and kind of just internet personality fan bases in general, I suppose. You live a very, very public life. Your relationships with people are very public, romantic or otherwise. Your friendships, your family life seems to be reasonably public, and basically everywhere that you speak is subject to criticism if people deem it worthy of criticism. Have there been points where your fan base, your community in particular, have behaved in a way that you haven't agreed with or would consider toxic or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, like anytime, Jesus Christ. Anytime my fans go to like another community to like ship post on a website or whatever, this is a really hard one because like a small subset of fans can make everybody look bad. So like for instance, like sometimes if I look at another streamer, if I talk about another streamer, like 3 or 4 dumb fucks will run into the chat and start spamming stupid shit. It's not really fair for me to say like, oh yeah, my fan base is really embarrassing when they do that because it like literally 4 or 5 people or like definitely like 10 or 20 people can destroy the way an entire fan base looks. So anytime I get people that go around and like talk shit or fuck around with other streamers or get like real cringy or something like that, yeah, that sucks and that makes me look bad. But I'd say the overwhelming majority of my fan base behaves themselves pretty well. And then I guess like maybe because I'm a big libcuck now, like I think that my fan base is one of the more tolerant or welcoming ones on Twitch, like in a cool way, not like in a like we're all here for love and SJW shit and all that and blah blah blah. But like in generally, like most of them are pretty cool and pretty open, but like we still have a pretty low tolerance on things like homophobia and transphobia and shit like that, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. This is easily the biggest live interview that I've ever done, and I was a little bit concerned about how your fan base might take me. But people are chilling in the chat and everything, and maybe I worried for nothing at all. Uh, what is something that like internet personalities can do in your mind when they're fans, when that 10 and 20 people are going into other chats and making the whole community look bad? Like, is that something that you just kind of have to take for granted and downplay as much as possible, or is there anything that you can do to kind of cultivate a better community and a better tone?
I mean, I think that your communities very much end up being a reflection of who you are. So I think it's very important to like publicly make sure people know where you stand on as many issues as possible. I don't like the idea that a lot of people are like, oh, well, I can't do anything about them. They're my people. Like you can tell that there are some people that definitely drive certain types of behavior. And you know, I'm pretty vocal about mine. If I see people doing things like I've said this a million fucking times to my community, like if I catch you going to another person's chat and saying some real dumb or cringy shit, I will fucking ban you from that chat and my chat and my Discord and my subreddit. Like I have like zero tolerance on that type of stupid shit. Like if I'm talking to some chick or whatever and someone is in the chat like, would you let Destiny suck farts out of your fucking tit or whatever? Like when people say, because a lot of people think it's like funny to go around and say like real stupid shit in other people's chats, like as a meme, and then they come back and laugh at it. I ban those people from like every fucking platform I have when people do stupid shit like that. Yeah. And people know that I'm like very vocal about that position, so it's not like a yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's also interesting to me. I guess I don't know. That's like my basic flatline response because I'm trying not to say amazing. In 2015, you had an interview with the Daily Dot where you detailed how much money Twitch streamers can make, or less how much, I suppose, more where it can all come from, be it ad revenues, subscriptions through Twitch or your platform, YouTube ads, etc. I wanted to ask, your viewership in terms of numbers has remained relatively stable over the years since that piece. Have your efforts to further monetize your community and your work been successful, or is it more a goal of keeping everything sustainable?
I mean, sustainability is really good, but I mean, we live in capitalism. If you're not growing, you're dying, right? Nobody wants to stagnate for too long. I think that as of recently, I think that my growth has been pretty good. Like maybe over the past kind of like year, I think I've done a good job at like taking on more projects and kind of like organizing my time in a better way and quitting League of Legends. And other things that have helped me in terms of like reaching out to too many other platforms to monetize. You have to, it's a very fine line you have to walk because like you don't want people to feel like they're, you know, like a product or a person to be sold products to. So, you know, this is why like I don't have like a Patreon because I have subs on my website already. I'd feel a little scumbag at like double dipping too much, but my main things that I've been focusing, like my largest areas of success recently, I would say like my YouTube channel is insanely successful now, which I feel really good about because I that was a huge investment of money and time initially that was like generating hugely negative returns, but that's become like a very, very awesome thing. My Instagram growth has been pretty good, although I'm not really making any money off of that yet. And then kind of like the connections and networking I formed with other people have been like very successful. These like growths of like my main Twitch channel and then like my YouTube have been like the main things I've focused on rather than finding like more ways, I guess, to like nickel and dime my fan base at the moment. Yeah.
You mentioned, you know, the Patreon double dipping, nickel and diming your fan base and everything like that. Um, it's kind of a very different dichotomy compared to we live in a capitalist society. If you're not growing, you're dying.
Mm-hmm.
Um, why not create that Patreon if people want to support it? You know, what is that fear of the double dipping, I guess?
If I do it, I just want to make sure that I'm offering something that I feel is worth like having a separate Patreon for. Like what I might do. It's also just like it's very, man. It's just really hard to like. There's like a lot of it's hard to say, but there's like a lot of personal stuff that I have to kind of like think about too, and I try to weigh things. I try to be like as ethical as possible, in terms of like how I do my stuff. As dumb as it sounds, um, like I already make like so much money doing everything, and I make money doing everything I do. And to like throw a Patreon on, like for instance, like my podcast. My podcast is something that I could very easily throw a Patreon up for. Like, hey, you know, like $1 every time we do an episode of the DT podcast. But I already run my podcast on Twitch. I already put it up on my YouTube. Like I already have, you know, people that sub to my Twitch, and it's like, yeah, well, hey, pay me on Patreon too. Like I don't know. I guess if I do it in like a certain way, I mean, it comes off as okay. Because for instance, there are people that watch YouTube that might ad block and never watch my Twitch, and maybe would contribute to that Patreon or something. Like there are probably ways to do it in a good way. I guess I don't know. It's just something I need to overcome, and then I need to actually take the process of setting it up. Yeah.
I am perpetually guilty at the lack of content that I offer my patrons. There's not a lot, but like
Mm-hmm.
finding something to do for just them is very difficult. So I certainly empathize with that.
Yeah.
Um, God, I lost my place. This happens every interview.
That's okay.
Okay, so it seems like your own Twitch streaming content meta has shifted over time as well. I mean, well, it has. You are somebody who's been getting a lot into politics in the political world, and it seems like your political values and your social values have shifted a long time as well. Do you ever think that maybe you would take a full step into the world of politics and leave the gaming completely behind or mostly behind? Follow up to that, have you ever considered running for office yourself?
I would almost definitely never fucking run for office because I fucking hate bureaucratic shit, and I would kill myself before dealing. Like, I would 100%. I hate populists, and that's exactly what I would be if I were to run for office, because I would hate every fucking step of the government. Like, in terms of actually trying to like pass legislation and everything. The thing is that like what I enjoy doing, and I always try to draw this distinction, and people that disagree with me never agree that I actually do this anyway. But what I'm generally concerned with is finding like what is true about any given circumstance, and that's like that informs all of my political views. Like, I don't intrinsically really care about like black people or women or minorities or any of this shit. Like, it's not like I feel this like deep empathetic drive towards like figuring out like what is the blah blah blah, but it's more just like, well, I have a certain worldview, I have a certain kind of like system of morals, and what are like the best positions that conform with that set of morals, right? So like, is social healthcare the best way to provide healthcare to as many people as possible? And then I'm just interested in exploring that. Like, is the answer yes or no, and then for what reasons? Like, political agendas and pushing narratives are things that are grotesquely boring to me. They're not bad things. I just don't give a fuck at all. And like, if I had to do like a political debate and I'm like running for office, and some guy is sitting there talking about how socialized healthcare is going to turn us into Venezuela, like, I'd probably just call him a fucking idiot for like 30 minutes and then get like kicked out of the place. And like, I wouldn't be able to have that conversation because like persuasive rhetoric is just not something I do very well. So like, I would never run for office. In terms of being like more political, I mean, like, I don't think I'll ever quit gaming because I enjoy gaming, and I want to make sure that I continue to enjoy my job as much as possible. And it's easy to kind of work politics into the background. And I feel like I'm deeply influential in this community as well. Like, I think I'm a pretty unique voice in the gaming community, and that I offer kind of like a progressive social perspective without like beating you over the head with it or making you feel like you're a shit person because of my perspective, which a lot of people on the left have a really hard time doing. So
I actually had a conversation, I think it was last night,
Mhm.
Fluidus in my chat was with him, about spoiler candidates and the concept of somebody running without really the intention of winning in the first place. You said, you hate all this aspects of running for office that you'd have to deal with, but would you ever consider running purely so that you could tap into that kind of conversation, platform some ideas that you feel are worth platforming, and like have these conversations with people who directly affect policy?
No, I would try to do it from the sidelines. People that do that are a literal fucking cancer that should be fucking hung. Like all the Republican dipshits that ran so they could write fucking books afterwards or whatever. You're damaging to the process. Most of you are fucking stupid anyway. Like, no, I would never ever try to like a tumor insert myself into that process and then grow like a fucking cancer until I can leech enough political capital to have interviews with those people. I would never ever do that. I hate the types of people that do that. I think it's, again, deeply damaging to the whole like running process.
Interesting.
Unless I were to run as a Republican to fuck their elections up, because fuck Republicans. But from a genuine point of view, no, I wouldn't.
Amazing. So,
Amazing.
God damn it. Okay.
Sorry.
Fuck. You recently made the move to LA straight out of Omaha, Nebraska. I actually don't know the accent there. That was a little presumptuous of me. What were your goals, or what are your goals in making that move and that life decision? And I think you've only been there a little over a month at this point, but have you started to accomplish those goals thus far?
Oh yeah, seeing people in real life is just really important. There are certain types of people that I very much greatly appreciate actual physical interactions with, and then for other people, there are people that it's just really positive. Like, I can interact with, I want to say Hassan, even though we haven't hung out as much as we should, but like people like Hassan or Andy, like hanging out with these people in person is just a whole other dynamic. Like, it does things that you can't really do online. It's a totally different atmosphere. It's a different type of content that I can provide for the stream, and then it's a different type of way of relating to these people. And then from a personal level, like being able to spend personal time with other people, going out drinking or smoking or whatever, are things that I could never do in the past at all. And now I have access to doing these things as well. And then yeah. So I greatly appreciate being here. I think I've accomplished even in this 1 month more than I thought I would. Honestly, I was a little scared because I was kind of like I was thinking like chat would probably be half right, and that I would spend like 90% of my time inside, and I probably wouldn't really go out that much. But I'm actually falling into my bigger fear, which was earlier I was worried that if I came out to this place that I would end up being out too much and it would actually hurt how much I streamed, which I think I'm falling a little bit far on that side right now. So I think for next month I'll probably try to dial it back a little bit, but yeah.
That's kind of nice though, isn't it? I mean, if you're kind of getting out and enjoying your life and everything, that's a pretty good problem to have.
Yeah, maybe, yeah, sure.
What's the like what was the opportunity cost there as well? I mean, isn't Los Angeles well, it's at least one of the most expensive cities in the world to live, right? I mean,
No,
that's a
yeah,
pretty
that
big
doesn't matter.
undertaking. No?
Nah, that's not. No, for the money that like the streamers and shit are making it like this level, it's not. That doesn't matter at all. The biggest opportunity cost for me is my son. That's like the only thing that kept me in Nebraska for as long as it did. I'd always kind of said like I didn't really want to move out when he was younger, and I wanted to wait until he was at an age where he could like comprehend like me not being there but still being able to talk long distance. That was kind of always like my marker for that. So like when he was like 3 or 4, he could have conversations, but like I don't know what the fuck a 4-year-old is thinking when I'm talking to them on Skype. Like I don't even know if they like, it's just a weirder thing. But now he's like 7 and we play games online every now and then, and I talk to him on the phone and whatnot, and I think he's got like a better understanding of what's going on, so I felt a little bit more comfortable. But that's like the only thing that kind of like kept me tied to Nebraska for so long. And then the only thing that sucks about not being there now.
Jumping back again to like 2012, 2013 era or
Mhm.
earlier, um, you spent some time in Poland at the Ministry of Wind House, and
Yeah.
I didn't find anything directly on this, so maybe you can help me clarify. Did Nathan come with you to Poland?
Yeah, Nathan and Rachel did, yeah.
Interesting. So you were in the Ministry of Wind House, and they were in some apartment, I suppose, in Poland.
Yep, and then eventually, I think for the last month or a few weeks, they moved in. Yeah.
To the Ministry of Wind House?
Yeah,
Oh,
because a bunch of people moved out, and it ended up being it just ended up making sense. Yeah.
wasn't that whole venture like really, really, really scuffed, if I remember correctly?
I mean, it was pretty scuffed, but I appreciate the effort. Yeah.
Cool, cool. Yeah, that's such a huge life thing, to kind of like relocate the whole family to another
To
country. And that's not
Poland.
the only traveling that you've done. You also spent a number of weeks in Korea for training as well,
Hmm.
traveling to events and everything like that. Is traveling and getting to see the world, is that something that you hold as an important part of your core values, or is it just kind of a byproduct of living this life that you do?
I don't really care that much, which sucks because it feels really wasted on me. But like, I'm not a very visual person. Like seeing things doesn't do much for me. I'm a very auditory person. Maybe that's why I was drawn more to music than other forms of art. So like the most I remember in traveling, I guess, I don't even remember where this was, but I remember that I went to a cathedral in some place. It was with my high school, so it couldn't have been in Omaha though. But I remember going to like a really big cathedral, and this is my coolest traveling moment ever. Was hearing an actual fucking organ in person is an amazing sound. Hearing an organ inside of a cathedral and then hearing it resonate in the cathedral, of any memory I have of traveling, this is easily like one of the most amazing memories I have. It was like insane. It was like you were enveloped by this sound. It was an amazing fucking experience. But other than that, like, I mean, I've seen a lot of cool things. I enjoyed traveling with another person. If I have like a friend, a certain type of friend, but if I have like a friend, I'll travel and do anything or anywhere. Like I might go to New Zealand for a couple weeks. Oh, hopefully pretty soon. Because I've got a friend that wants to travel the North and South Island. And then if I have like a friend that wants to travel and do stuff, I'll go and do that. But I'm mainly there for the experience with the other person, kind of like sharing that experience rather than I would never go like on my own to see castles or mountains or anything.
Yeah, definitely. I think
Mm-hmm.
traveling alone is kind of I don't know. I wouldn't do that either. I'd love to
Well,
travel.
some people really like it. Some people want to travel like for the sake of like seeing things or experiencing cities and whatnot. And I just don't, I don't care that
Is
much.
um is the existence of IRL streaming something that makes the concept of travel a little bit more appealing to you? Because it's not just travel at that point, it's also sort of a business opportunity.
Wait, and then what was the first part of that question? If it makes me hate it more or like it more?
Oh, more appealing, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, everything I do is a streaming opportunity. So everything is really appealing to me, I guess. Because I don't mind streaming everything. I wish I had more friends that felt that way. But yeah, I don't. I can go and do anything and turn it into a streaming experience, which is really nice for me. It's really helpful. Yeah.
Cool. So I did take fan questions from your Reddit, Twitter. I don't think I got any on Twitter actually. From your Reddit subreddit of StarCraft and my Discord. We'll start running through those now. So, Flaming Nips of Fire DM'd me on Reddit. Can you ask Destiny if he thinks the indefinite future he'll switch somewhat from streaming to managing other streamers and appearances / events? It feels like a lot of these big streamers honestly have a knack for marketing, and they're obviously very personable. Realistically, how well do you think skills from streaming transfer over to other things in the industry? I really want to know because it feels uncanny thinking I'll literally see Destiny streaming 10 years from now when he's 40.
I like the attention too much, and I'm very forward public facing. I think I could probably do the managing of other streamers like pretty well. But that's not what I enjoy doing. I hate fucking managing. I also think I think I can teach really well too. I think that's a talent that I have, but I fucking hate teaching, so I would never do that either. So no, I mean I'll never be like a manager of streamers. I'd rather just go. Managing streamers. I'd probably rather kill myself than actually do that. Fuck that shit. But I'm way too. I love the public facing stuff way too much to move into the background.
Do you foresee yourself? I mean, it's interesting to think though. Like, will you be streaming when you're 40 or 50 or 60? Is that something that you intend to
Yeah,
keep up for the
hopefully.
rest of your
Yeah.
life? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know when I'm 60 maybe, but the thing is that like it sounds really weird now, but our cultures and everything are progressing so much, and like people don't really think about it. But like by the time I'm 40 and streaming when I'm 40, streaming when you're 40 won't really be that weird. Because if you go back 8 years ago, I guarantee you people were probably saying in chats like, "Do you think you're still going to be streaming when you're 30?" Like when I was like 22 or 23, like, "Do you think you're going to be streaming at 30 or 35?" Or remember how many people make fun of like Nesty for his age because he was in his like late 20s, I think. But now, like I'm 30 and I don't think people are like, "Oh, wow, you're 30 and streaming." Like, well, no, now because kids like we all kind of like grew up playing games and that culture kind of like has moved along with us. So by the time we're 40, it's not like all the people that played, like Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy 7 when we were 40 are going to die, right? Those people are still going to be here probably watching streams and doing shit. So yeah, I think it'll be fun.
That's a really interesting concept to kind of take in. The idea that, I guess you're the first generation of streamers who could make it to 40, 50, beyond. Yeah, that'll definitely be.
Damn,
Well,
am I gonna die sometimes? Is that a threat? What the fuck?
whoa, hey, listen, TOS, buddy, Jesus, fresh-faced little babu in the world. Don't strike me down like that.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Rar_M asks, what are 3 big things Destiny would like to see in the next RTS game, whatever it may be? What are some things from the current lineup, or maybe just SC2, that you think should go away?
Fuck, that's such a hard question. I don't know. I feel like, I I'm not a game designer. I never pretend to be. So it's really hard for me to answer that question. Like, oh, like what would be a really good thing to do for game design? I feel like there's got to be room for like RTS to work somehow with like people. It just has to be a little bit like there have to be game modes that are a little bit easier. But I don't know how it would be done. Things like tower defense and whatnot, are really fun, but there has to be some kind of casual attraction to casual players. Maybe some sort of persistent thing like leveling a hero or something. I don't know. There has to be something. Yeah, there has to be something to draw casual players to play. That's like the most important part.
People, I don't even know if it's considered RTS, but the like PvE RTS games like They Are Billions and is there another one? I don't even know. Those seem to be doing pretty well. And then Warcraft 3 Remastered is coming out. Do you have any interest in Warcraft?
Not at all. I never played, unfortunately. I didn't play the Frozen Throne or anything. I didn't do anything with Warcraft. No. I haven't even played World of Warcraft, so.
I actually just started playing World of Warcraft. You wouldn't be interested in checking out Warcraft, though, not having any prior experience to it?
Not really, no. Maybe someday, but right now, no.
Someday. Cool. Quadrazar asks, I know you said, well, I guess that was directed at me. I would love to know if you could ask him his opinion on the ever-growing political importance of the internet and live streaming, which I think is a very interesting conversation for you to be a part of because you're at the forefront of bringing politics to Twitch at all, it seems. What's the perspective of you? Like, do you think that the political sphere of Twitch and live streaming is going to continue to grow? And I mean, YouTube seems to be kind of designated as the skeptic community type place. Do you think that Twitch could go that route too, or?
Hopefully not with people like me here. Hopefully that doesn't happen. But yeah, I mean, video games have become like everything in media becomes kind of like a battleground for political issues because ultimately that's where these things manifest, right? You know, your cultural views and everything are at some point going to be distilled down to either a film or a song or a video game. So, I mean, as more people continue to have political conversations online, as younger people, you know, get older that have more experience online and become more politically active, because as we get older, we become more politically active. That just seems to be the case. And those people will be using the internet more. You're probably going to see more and more political conversations occur across these platforms, especially as video games become, you know, battlegrounds for these political ideas too. You know, like should women be in video games? Should black people be blah, 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 or whatever, right? It's just going to happen, yeah. So yeah, I imagine that sphere of political influence will grow, and you've already seen other political people associate with the platform more as well, right? Washington Post is a Twitch channel. At the Alexandria Cortez, whatever girl came over and was on a H Bomber guy stream. Like you've seen some politicians do stuff. That Swedish guy streamed. Fuck, I wish I could remember his name, but that Swedish politician dude was streaming on Twitch for a little bit, and yeah, I imagine you'll see that trend probably continue.
Cool. Musicus from the StarCraft Reddit asks, how important is viewership in comparison to the enjoyment of the game that you're playing? For example, would you rather stream a game that you don't really enjoy to 10,000 viewers or a game that you do enjoy with just 2,000 viewers? Where do you draw that line?
I mean, these are kind of like two sides of the same coin. Like, if you don't enjoy it, you're not going to be able to do it for a long period of time. That's just a fact. You just can't. If you stream something that's like super boring to you, but you get 10K viewers, you're going to burn out and not want to stream at all, which is ultimately going to be worse for you than streaming something you enjoy to less viewers. So for me, I mean, you have to find some balance. For instance, like I could probably stream and play something like Factorio for the rest of my life and lose all my viewers doing it, and that's probably not good. But at some point you've got to find a good balance between doing things that make you happy and then doing things that are good for your viewers. And I try to strike a balance that sits more on the end of me being happy, because I know that as long as I'm happy, I can stream more hours and do more things, and my streams will generally be more enjoyable if I'm in a good mood.
It was pointed out to me that Andy Milonakis is in his 40s already in my chat. That was a while ago, but I just wanted to get that out there. I acknowledge you. Yeah, definitely very interesting. So have you had a moment before, or very many moments, I guess, like where you've been streaming a game that you really enjoy and it kind of dawns on you like, oh, wait, this is really bad for the health of my career from here on out?
I mean, there are two huge things we can go with this. One is League of Legends, which was really bad for me. Because that game I don't have no idea how much that held back my career. It's hard to say. Although in some ways it's good. It sucks. I wish I could have a healthy relationship with the game, because it's a really good collaboration vehicle. Like, there are a lot of like people that play League that my community enjoys, and if I would just do it with them, like people like Lily Peach and whatnot, it's generally really positive. But not having like a competitive like ladder to grind is really hard for me when I'm playing games. So yeah, like League had a big detriment for a long time, and then for a long time, I really, really like, I don't know how to explain these like roguelike games, these min-maxing games. Have you ever heard of like Frostpunk?
Yeah, that's another one of those like PvE RTSy things, isn't it?
Kind of, yeah. So like Frostpunk, RimWorld, Oxygen Not Included, Factorio, these types of like min-maxing iterative learning games, there are billions. I could play these games for my entire fucking life. These like crisis management games, and they're so bad for my viewership. They're so fucking horrible for it. But I could play these games for so long. And then even like people managers too. So like Rust and Eve are games that I could also sink like an ungodly amount of hours into, and they're not good for my stream at all. Yeah.
I'm surprised to hear Eve actually.
Yeah, I played way too much of that shit. That shit ass fucking game.
I didn't know that you walked away wanting more though.
Well, I wanted the problem with that game is the community are a bunch of fucking baby pussies, so the game could never be as much fun as it should be. But
yeah, I played during the I don't know, every couple of months to a year it comes up in the mainstream game press like, oh, biggest war happening in Eve ever. And I joined up when people were trying to kill the Imperium, I guess, and it was single-handedly the most fun I've ever had in a video game, but I'll never have that ever again because people in Eve just like to stay docked, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the big problem. The big problem with the game is the game mechanically has everything it needs there to be like a really exciting game, but people are like too much of a giant fucking pussy to like actually like do anything. So like for me, like undocking and losing ships and getting into big fights, whatever, is like super fun for me. I love all that shit. But for other people, they won't fight unless they've got like 17 different fleets on standby, ready to sign a win and completely fucking obliterate. You know, like fleets is so fucking boring. Like some of the most exciting things that we had in Eve, I remember like flights like where we would have like a crew of like 70 or 80 people fighting against like 20 tier 3s with like one or two archons out, and like I don't know, like these like drawn out fights that last like an hour or two are like super exciting and super fun. But most of the people that play in the game are people like people like PL, Pandemic Legion, are just giant fucking baby pussies that just like to hot drop like 50 cap ships on like fleets of like tier 2s and like obliterate everything, and then like jerk themselves off afterwards about how cool they are, and then never do anything fun or exciting in a video game for the rest of their lives. Like it's just really fucking boring. The way that 99% of people play that game. And like if you ever open like a coalition map of the game, you get a quick idea of like the type of person that plays Eve, right? Like you have to be like allied to literally half the fucking universe to undock like a tier 1 fucking ship. Otherwise, you're just gonna sit in docking bay and spin your ship all day, too scared to actually do anything. It's just like really, really, really stupid. I don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, fucking.
Going back
basically,
to
I'm sorry. So basically, I'm sorry because this doesn't make sense to a lot of people. So basically, Eve is a type of game where like people can take over like solar systems and you can go mine in it. You can do all this cool shit. And like the cool thing, the idea would be like, oh, like everybody, like there are all these different factions and all these different solar systems that have all these stars, and people fight over it for mining rights and to kill NPCs to get credits and all this cool shit. And it would be really exciting. But in reality, what happens is two sides could have an exciting fight with one another, but somebody might lose. So one of the sides says to somebody else, like, hey, do you want to ally so we can go dunk on those kids? And then the other kids are like, hey, do you guys want to ally so we can dunk on it? And then it gets to a point where literally in Eve, there were like 3 factions you could be a part of. Like one was the CFC that owned like 80% of all the land. The other was like, was it NC Dot that owned like the other 20 or 30%. They probably owned more than that. It was probably split like 40-60 or 30-70 or whatever. And then there were like a couple other smaller organizations that were allied to both of them. So like there were never any real like huge fights or any real exciting shit. People will say like, oh, BTAC R was the most exciting fight, like $10 million of property lost. Even after those big fights, it's not like people took over each other's territory or whatever. Like it was just like real boring, real stupid. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, I'm done.
Yeah, no, I was lucky enough to play in the time period where it actually was happening. I was playing the Money Badger Coalition and the Imperium.
How long ago?
Oh, like
Was it within the past like
2016 now?
Okay. I heard that
Yeah.
they did like really big changes to SOV that made it so that it was really hard to hold a lot of territory, so that the territory actually started changing stuff out because of the big changes they made to SOV space. So it's possible that that stuff got cooler. Yeah.
Yeah, I really have no idea, but like just the aspects of like being in a fleet and having to download, you know, like 4 different programs in addition to TeamSpeak so that you could have your fleet ping and then you join the right Mumble channel or whatever, and like
what were they called? It wasn't the overlay. It was your overview. The thing that everybody was like very anal about having set up correctly.
Oh yeah. God.
Was it called your overview?
I don't
you'd
even
find out like
remember.
someone in your fleet is like using stock. Fuck, what the fuck am I thinking of, guys? What was it called?
I got yelled at by my FC for using the stock overlay.
Yeah, oh yeah, dude. Oh shit, if you were ever using that shit, you get kicked out of fleet fucking instantly. Like yeah, and you can tell soon as you'd be like, all right, everybody fucking lock whatever, and then somebody would be like, I don't see him on my overview. Like, what the fuck? Give me a fucking screenshot. What the fuck overview are you? Are you fucking you're on stock? Get the fuck out of my fleet. Or like we would just log and kill. Yeah, no, but like yeah. Oh yeah, you get in huge trouble for having that.
Oh no, dude. Fucking terrible.
We are mad at a lot of people in my there's a lot of fucking shit going on, but I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead.
Bringing it all the way back to League of Legends. You mentioned League of Legends as one of these games too that, you know, kind of drove your viewership down. When you switched from StarCraft to League, you were somebody who was coming from the professional StarCraft sphere on whatever, maybe you weren't the best in the world, but you were a pro gamer, a part of professional teams. And it seemed like you never really hit that stride with League of Legends. What were your goals with League? And then if it was driving your viewership down, why did you stick with it for so many years?
I mean, like I got very good at League, like top like fraction or percent of players, but nowhere near as good at League as I was at StarCraft, where I was like a semi-professional. So which sounds kind of hard to say, but like so in StarCraft, like there were points in my career where I could take a game off of anybody in the world. But then in League, I don't think I was ever good in League to even be like an alternate in a pro team. I was just like kind of like a high ladder player. I guess that like having like a ladder to play on is just something that like sustains me greatly, and not having a ladder to play on just makes me very bored of games. So like I wanted to play the Call of Duty game a lot more, but the fact that there's no ladder like kind of kills my drive to play it a lot. And then
You mean Black Ops?
what? Yeah, wait, what did I say?
Was a Call of Duty game. I just wanted just the current one, right?
Oh yeah, Blackout,
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
which is a Call of Duty game, yeah. Yeah, but I guess like I don't know. Maybe if I would have like focused, maybe like higher towards the top, I should have streamed less, and I could have focused more on like improving on like the ladder and shit. But I mean, I don't know. I always kind of like prioritized, streaming, and I guess I never really took it as ultra seriously as I should have. Like I put in a lot of hours, but I could have put in more focus practice to maybe crack, the topper ranks or the higher ranks a little bit better. But I don't know.
Cool. Petit Drogo asked on the StarCraft subreddit, Petit Drogo being a very popular professional French Protoss player.
Yeah, he's in my chat sometimes. I like him. He's a cool dude.
Ever since you canceled on the DreamHack in Europe you were supposed to go to, I have deep trust issues. When are you coming back to the EU?
I will go to TwitchCon Berlin. That will happen 100%. It guaranteed it will happen. I was supposed to meet a friend in that DreamHack, and she ended up canceling on me, and I lost my desire to go. If you care, that's what actually happened. I'm sorry, Petit Drogo, but I will 100% go to TwitchCon Berlin. I will be there, guaranteed. Okay, I promise.
This is very tangentially related, just the talk of travel and a StarCraft person. But have you heard about the Home Story Cup NA stuff?
No. Oh, are they going to do one in NA?
Yeah. They want to do not like I think it's not the next one. God, I'm so bad at memory. It's not the next one, but the one after that. They want to do it in Las Vegas. Just consider that as well. Could be fun times.
Yeah, I'll definitely go. Yeah, any TwitchCon, anything that happens in any like that, like a Homestory Cup, yeah, 100%, absolutely go. Fuck, I can fucking drive to Vegas. I think it's like a 4-hour drive for me. So yeah,
Dude, nice. That's 4 hours, really?
Am I crazy, guys? I think so, right?
Isn't Las Vegas like in?
Am I an idiot? Let me check. Hold on.
I don't know, dude. I don't know American geography. It's probably me, dude.
Let's see. I live in Glendale, and we would be driving to. Oh, sorry. You can go to your next question.
No worries. Where am I? Okay, this is a.
Yeah, it's like a 4-hour drive for me. Yeah.
Jesus, it takes me longer to get across my island. That's crazy. Anyways, this is kind of. I don't know. I had to ask this. I could not ask. Tiso on the subreddit, StarCraft subreddit. Originally, you came out in favor of region locking, recognizing that many fans enjoy being able to cheer on their local heroes. However, in the last few years, we've seen your politics take a leftward shift. With things like Brexit and the rise of Trump, do you still hold the same stance on region locking now? Is there no racial or xenophobic component to it?
No, I don't think so. I think region locking just has to do with the idea that like people like to see their own people succeed. I think that's actually more of like a lefty liberal view than anything, right? When we talk about like representation and media and whatnot, like black people typically like to see black people on the screen. Women typically like to see women on the screen. White people typically like to see white people on the screen. I mean, I think that carries true for sporting events as well, right? Like, yep. I'm about to talk like a whole bunch of shit because I don't know fuck all about sports. But for like football, aren't there teams from around the world that go to the World Cup? It's not like 35 fucking teams from Brazil or some shit, right? Isn't it like one team from every country or some shit? Am I crazy on that?
Yeah, and for the Olympics and stuff like that too. This is. I can't escape the region lock memes. I do this a lot.
Like nobody would ever dream of having like an Olympics or like a football event where like every single team is from like 2 countries. Like no one would fucking care, right?
Yep. Yeah. I just had to ask. I just needed to get you to say it.
Mm-hmm.
Brolympia from the StarCraft subreddit. Do you think your heavy use of infestors in 2010 and 2011 had a significant impact on the metagame shift that we saw in 2012, where the infestor became the backbone of most Zerg macro strategies?
Yeah, I mean, until it got nerfed to shit. Yeah, of course. Yeah, the infestor was super fucking broken. It was ultra broken. Yeah.
Good times.
No, it wasn't. A lot of people fucking hated those times. What do you mean?
I was a Bronze Zerg player.
Faster Broodlord was fucking cancer. That shit was impossible to beat. Yeah.
I mean, it's probably better than Swarmhost, right? Can we say that? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, probably the Swarmhost games that would go on for like an hour and a half. It's so funny. People always hate Swarmhost so much, but the reality was that in a StarCraft game, as the game went on, viewership would increase, and some of those 2-hour Swarmhost games were some of the highest viewership games in any tournament. It's just how it went. It's kind of funny, but yeah.
Yeah, kind of an unfortunate fact of reality. I miss old Swarmhost so much too. I used to do some creative, cheesy BSery with that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Void Legacy wants to know your thoughts on the Alpha Star Google DeepMind stream that took place just the week past there. Did you take in that stream? And if so, what are your thoughts?
Fuck, I need to go and watch it. I guess like my biggest worry in looking at that thing though was what I was hearing was like the APM on that robot. It's really hard because like in terms of like, can AI beat humans convincingly? Right now, the answer is obviously yes, because in RTS, the mechanical skill ceiling is unlimited, and if you can perfectly micro any unit, you can destroy anything. But that's not the interesting question when we're talking about AI, right? What we're really talking about is like, can they scout? Can they react accordingly? Can they adapt to things? Can they improvise? Like these things on the fly? Like these are the real questions we're asking. But the problem with that DeepMind thing is it still had like ungodly fucking APM and shit during some of those games, didn't they? Like I heard there were parts where like for over like 4 or 5 seconds, this thing would have like 500 plus APM and shit during fights and whatnot, which is like insane, you know? So
Yeah.
I'm not too sure what it was measuring, if it was actually measuring like the effectiveness of like an AI to adapt and learn, or if it was just saying like, well, hey, if your micro is perfect, you can literally win fucking anything, you know? Oh, people are saying 1500 APM. Also, like
Well,
another thing you guys have to keep in mind too is that like, and I specifically, I don't remember if I said this question out loud or if it was talking to the guy at the end. I specifically remember saying, because I think I got worried when they said that in order to make sure DeepMind wasn't like brute forcing its games, they were capping its APM to like 300. But like 300 APM is a lot fucking different than like 300 human clicks. And I don't even know if I believe the way people measure EPM, because people are saying things like Cyril has like 400 like EPM or whatever. Like really, like you think that he makes 400 individual unique clicks per minute that like couldn't have been made in any more of an efficient manner? Like when a machine makes, you know, a click 300 APM, those are 300 actions that are like perfectly executed actions with no spam, with no overlap, that are done exactly as they mean to be. Like yeah, that 300 APM from a machine would be the equivalent of like 2000 APM or more from a human, you know? Yeah, sorry. Right.
yeah. There's like a lot of literature out there at this point on pretty much everything that you raised, and
Mm-hmm.
I I just read it. So rather than me sit here and tell you what I've read, maybe you should, you could formulate
Mm-hmm.
your own opinions on the stuff that's out there. They did a really good AMA though on I don't even remember the subreddit. It wasn't our StarCraft, but you can find that link there. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, all the replays are out too, so you could pick those up
Mm-hmm.
if you were really curious. It is such an interesting thing, yeah. But
This is kind of like this is a kind of a random tech oriented thing. What fuck, hold on. How does DeepMind get information about the game? Do you know?
so the way it was explained to my memory on the stream was the earlier iterations that were used for the replays that they broadcast on the stream. Um, it has like complete view of a screen.
Uh-huh.
So what they did was they made it so that it could focus on different areas of the map in particular, but
Okay,
it
okay,
did
yeah,
still
okay, cool.
have
Yeah, okay. I know.
yeah.
I wasn't sure if it was under APM or not, so I wanted you to say it first.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, I have no
I'm
idea.
sorry, not APM, NDA or whatever. Yeah. So one of the cool
No, no,
things
no, it
about
was on stream. Yeah.
DeepMind.
Oof.
Okay, awesome. So one of the cool things about DeepMind, and this is kind of more of a tech side of thing, and maybe most people won't care, but I was under the impression that oh wait, hold on. People are saying things that are the opposite. Um, from what I'm aware of. I'm going to go by what I know more than what people in chat know, because I don't know how many of you are guessing or talking shit in chat. So what I was under the impression of is that what DeepMind would do is DeepMind would use like APIs or read data directly from like the RAM or something in order to figure out what was going on in the game states. That like certain like if something entered the screen, there would be like a command or there would be like some way of reading that via like the game's memory or something, and that's how DeepMind would function. But my impression after talking to one of the programmers for DeepMind was that that's not actually how it works at all. It actually visually does everything. So it actually looks at things entering the screen and then it processes that via machine learning rather than getting like a signal or like a code or something that something is at a certain coordinate or whatever. It's actually visually analyzing things and like scrolling the screen around to do that. I thought that was really cool, the way that it actually like looks at the screen to learn things rather than just like farming a fuck ton of information from like API calls or something.
Yeah, definitely. During the stream too, they did one live show match with I guess, a newer iteration that instead of taking in the whole of the map or all of its vision on the map, it did have like a camera that it was using, quote unquote camera, right?
Yeah.
And it was super easy to tell. Like, spoiler alert, if anyone cares, it was a show match versus Mana, and the way that he won was pretty much just abusing Warp Prism, because the AI would take its whole army, start to move out, Mana would come in with a Warp Prism, drop, the whole army would come back, and then leave again once the Warp Prism was left. And it was kind of clear that it had no real split of attention in any way there, or the ability to split its forces or anything like that. It's all really interesting though. Like, you should definitely consume that stream, because it was very interesting to me, at least. And a lot of people had a lot of issues with the way that it was portrayed in terms of like the optics and the PR and what people were saying on the stream, and the idea that it wasn't really pro level play. But I had people messaging me too that were, oh, I heard that the DeepMind beat the best pro gamers in the world or whatever, and I was like, well, that didn't really happen. Yeah, it would be an interesting thing to get your thoughts on, I guess. That's my point.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really cool thing. I mean, at some point, there's also a lot of this is fed kind of like by our bias as humans, that we like to believe that we have a special place in the universe and that machines could never get to where the human mind is. But the reality is that at some point, most likely in our lifetimes, machines are going to be able to do everything, including spontaneous thought, including like innovative thought, but probably better than humans are. There's nothing that makes the brain special or independent from the rest of the universe insofar as our ability to solve problems or come up with solutions or whatever. So yeah, I mean, I expect that the AI at some point will get there.
Yeah, it's an interesting time to be alive, I guess. May you live in interesting times.
Yeah.
In my Discord, Metal Fingers asks, do you think that the quote-unquote fall of competitive esports games such as StarCraft is inevitable? Not that StarCraft fell, because we're still going strong, but or by learning from past developers, do you think that a game could stay on the top or maintain a large following effectively forever?
I mean, it's really hard to say. You have to, I mean, you've got to keep changing to keep your game fresh and interesting. That's kind of the advantage that MOBAs had for a while, or still have, I guess, is that they're constantly changing. New champions or heroes are being released, games are being updated, even Dota has big updates and whatnot. I don't know if a game can be released in one form and not go through significant changes and still remain popular. I think that's still yet to be seen. Like, the Battle Royale shit has only been popular for maybe 2 years. I think, right? Has it even been that long?
Yeah, it's like at least a year and a half, easy.
Yeah, but not that long, like a relatively short amount of time. And we've seen, I want to say like, fuck, I should know these numbers offhand, but like I'm pretty sure like PUBG. I know the Call of Duty game dropped off pretty fast. I think PUBG has dropped off like fairly fast as well, right? So only at 44.7K. You know, Fortnite is still holding strong, but it seems like a lot of the battle royale shit died down, and then Fortnite is kind of like carrying right now, and we'll see how long that goes on. We'll see where we're at, I guess, in a year or two.
Very, very, very tangential, but have you seen PUBG Lite? Have you heard about that?
No, is this like mobile PUBG or what?
I guess they want to make a free-to-play pub that runs on, everyday computers instead of the most extreme gaming PCs.
Oh, I don't think the technology is there for that yet.
I guess so.
If you go the Fortnite direction, the graphics turning everything like cartoonish, the graphics for Fortnite was a very intelligent decision. It made the game run much smoother across a lot of systems. So maybe if they go that route, maybe, but I'm not sure. Just the size of the map and all the network architecture and everything, like seems like it would be really hard to make that work on a really shitty computer. But I could be wrong.
Yeah, definitely. It's almost unfortunate. It kind of seems like maybe pub and that style of gameplay was just a little too early for the technology available in a lot of ways. But same thing for Eve, actually. I don't know. Someday we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
So bringing it back to StarCraft II one last time. After stating very publicly that you were leaving the StarCraft scene in favor of League of Legends, you've actually been kind of perpetually present through the StarCraft community, even more than some of the ardent supporters who were around in 2012 and 2014 who eventually left. Do you think that you'll ever reach a point where you're no longer playing StarCraft at all or completely done with the game?
I mean, probably not. I mean, as long as the community is still around and I still have it installed, and Nathan likes to play co-op sometimes, and no, I mean, I'm sure I'll be around in to some regards. I'm sure I will be, probably, hopefully.
Hopefully. We need
Yeah,
we want your viewership bump in the Twitch category, right?
yeah, I guess, yeah. I mean, I'll be playing tomorrow at the least, and probably a little today. So,
Nice. Last question that I had. If you were to offer advice to anyone trying to make a go of it on Twitch, what would that advice be?
the number one advice I always tell people with new business ideas or anything like that is, why would somebody do X instead of what already exists, right? A lot of people messaging me with business ideas and shit, and then it's the same for streamers. Like, why would somebody watch you over anybody else? If you don't have what you should immediately have an answer to that question, and if you don't, you're fucking doomed to fail already. So whether that's like a unique brand of humor, whether that's some gimmick, or whether that's you're very fucking good at a game, like you have to have an answer immediately to that question, and you should know it, and that should be like the thing you focus on building every single day. Yeah.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. So that was what I had. That was the list of questions. We ran through them all. I'm very thankful for your time running through all those questions.
Yeah, no problem.
If there's anything that you wanted to say before I press stop on the recording for YouTube, then now is your time.
I mean, you can find all my stuff at my website at destiny.gg. Otherwise, yeah, I love you all very much. Been fun.